So, right, look, let's go through the whole Heretiks thing in order. So, when you got offered the script, and why did you want to take it?
I'd done Season House with Temple Heart, and they gave me a script of Heretiks, and instantly, you know, the idea of doing a 17th century period horror set in a world of witch burning and pestilence and fear and, you know, just doing a film in that period, I really wanted to do. Add then the supernatural aspects, and also being an opportunity to do like a retro horror that's a bit Hammer, a bit Tygon, a bit Witchfinder General, Blood and Satan's Claw. I really wanted to do a little bit of a throwback movie that had, instead of doing all the jump scare movies that were around, you know, at the moment everything's jump scares. I kind of want to do something that was all about atmosphere and dread and creepiness.
Period drama is quite an expensive undertaking, isn't it? You've got a lot to sort of like deal with, and so you had to. Is that why? Actually, we're thinking about it. The nun's habits, I suppose, aren't so bad. I mean, it's pretty.
Still has to be all made, though. You know, it's that whole thing of all the costumes were made. Some were rentals, but the actual costume, like Reverend Mother, it's amazing how much goes into and how much a costume costs. When you have to, usually you do a film, you can go rent a costume for 50 quid a week. Here, you know, we had to have everything. Most of it was handmade by costume makers, and it has to be the right textures. It can't have stitch marks. It has to look like it was made in that period. So, you know, it was expensive because you're asking people to hand make stuff rather than, it can't look dyed, it can't look, you know, painted. You know, it was an interesting process. I mean, shooting on location is always very expensive because you've got to put people up. You know, the costumes are made, the makeup, the wigs, you know, so you kind of forget, you know, you're trying to make a film of a certain budget and then you've got all these added costs. And you think, oh my God, yeah, I forgot about that. You know, filming near Margam Castle, we had to put people up in cottages, you know, put up a whole film crew. It's kind of quite expensive, and the actual renting of Margam Castle was pretty expensive.
So it was a castle, I mean, a real sort of like Gothic. You know.
We shot at Margam Castle in Wales, which is the most haunted castle in Britain. And we shot at Tree Tower Court, which is an old monastery, which is like 600 years old.
Now you shot in sort of December, freezing, right?
Yeah. It was, we couldn't shoot, I think there was an issue because the bats, which we'll get to later, they have a certain breeding time and they've got to be allowed complete free rein while they do their business. So we couldn't shoot a certain part, and they said, oh, why don't you shoot in November, December? And it was like, how cold can it get? And you realise, just by putting your hand on a monastery wall, how cold these poor people in that time, you know, it's like they've got one little roasting fireplace, but it was cold.
Now listen, we've got to talk about the cast. I mean, Claire Higgins from Hellraiser.
Wonderful.
Great. I mean, I know she is like a heroine of yours cause from that time. I mean, that must have been a really pleasant
I love Hellraiser, you know, one of my favourite movies of all time. And to have Evil Julia on board, and she was really into it. You know, we talked about, you know, the character of Reverend Mother and how is she bad or is she good or is she just stern? Is there different intentions, and without giving spoilers away. But I think she got it pitch perfect. You know, she was into it, and she anchors the movie and she brings a lot of weight to it. So it was great to have her. And
Michael Ironside.
Wonderful. A lovely human being. Every day, you know, he was just he would talk to everyone. He was one of those actors that's just an absolute joy. As soon as he walks on the set, he talks to everyone, he's lovely, and he was really into his character, and he was really talkative about it, and should I be this? You know, he was just everything about him was open and generous, and we talked so much about Scanners and Total Recall and, you know, everything. And every film that you had mentioned, he'd have a story that you've never heard before.
I mean, how was it? I mean, I'm sure you learn something on every film you do. I mean, what did you learn on this?
You know, I think the biggest thing was shooting mostly on location. It was, you always, I've been really lucky in my last two films that I've been able to build loads of sets or actually my last three films, where we would always be able to float out a wall, you know, drill something into a wall. this, with Heretiks, I had to be so careful. I can't drill anything into any walls. It's all medieval, real medieval buildings. I can't throw blood here. So everything was trying to work out how we want to build sets within that location, but we weren't allowed to drill anything. So a lot of it was logistically trying to build all those sets and film a movie, which is a horror film with lots of blood and things, without actually harming any of a real building. So it was just a different way of, before being able to do what I want to a set, and this time not being able to.
Well, and one of those sort of problems was the bats, which are an endangered species. And I was shocked and horrified when you told me you'd get 5 years in prison if you killed one.
Yeah.
So, I mean, didn't you realise that going in, that this might have been an issue? Or?
Well, we were told about there's a certain time we can't shoot there because the bats are breeding and they said to us, you might have the odd bat fly in, but it's not a big deal. And then we're like, okay, fine. So we moved in, we built everything, and they said. And our production designer came on board and he's like, well, we can't, if a bat comes out, we have to stop, we have to just let it do its thing, we can't shush it. It was actually kind of quite interesting. They said, you can get fines, and if you kill one, you can get 5 years. Absolutely, because that shocked me, because there was one time where we needed, in continuity, we needed a fire in the background going. I was like, we've got to have the fire on. They go, can't, there's a bat in it. And I was like, well, just get a stick. And it was like, the look on their faces, the location manager was like, you cannot do that. And, it was, and also if you harass it and it flies out of the chimney, it would get disorientated at the light and pass out. And, because it would think it was night and it was actually day and it would go funny. And there's all these things about these bats, but there were times where, at the end, you'd be under pressure. You'd be like, oh my God, we've got to get 10 shots and then suddenly a bat would fly. You just, not now. You just look at this bat and just ask it to go away, because it was just,
And that's when you thought, I wish I'd kept it as vampires, because they would have been perfect as a backdrop.
And you always get people go, oh yeah, but does a bat add to? It's like you can't ever see the two people talking. A bat flies about, this rabid bat flying about, and then it just goes away. It's like. Yeah, so, and also, so essentially they were probably paid a hell of a lot, those bats, because it's amazing that, the sort of protections and the pampering you have to do to these things. They got more pampering than the actors.